What's up, everybody? I'm Aslan. Corey's here. It's Wake Up War Chant. Thanks for joining us. Need a little favor from everybody. Need some feedback. So when we do the podcast now, should we just do one long segment, or should we still take a couple breaks every now and then just to kind of pause? I wonder what you folks think about that. Also, Corey, your thoughts on this. Should we curse now that we're not bound by the shackles of the FCC?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was thinking about that when you told me that it's going to be podcast only now, instead of that sweet 6 to 7 a.m. hour that we had. I mean, I feel like we can cuss, but I think we should be sparing with it.
Okay.
Because I do think people will listen to us in the car. I think still people will listen to us in the car on the way to school or on the way to work, and I assume they're going to have their kids with them.
All right.
So with that in mind, only about 8 or 9 F-bombs an episode.
Good morning, Tallahassee. It's time to Wake Up War Chant on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hajavanti and Corey Clark.
Wake up! Let's go! It's game week. It's game day. I'm Aslan. He's Corey Clark. It's Wake Up War Chant. It's been a long one. Let's get it. It's here, Corey. It's here. You can't avoid it. You can't defer any longer. Come on. Come strong. How are you?
I'm good, buddy. This is our first game day together.
Ooh, aw,
as a pair. I mean, what would you put the over-under on how many games we'll actually do as a podcasting pair?
36.5.
Okay, so we're getting into the 2022 season probably?
Yeah.
2021?
I think by that
point... And then
point,
what, you go on to New York, you go on to Bigger and Better?
No, I think you're just like, listen, I can't do it. My shoulders hurt. I've been carrying you for too long, kid. You haven't stepped up your game. I gave you
Trust me, man, we're already there when it comes to that. I'm trying my best, but it's getting heavy.
All right. Oh, check it out, folks. We're going to get you ready for the Virginia Tech game. That's tonight, ABC, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, which is the only time we care about. We're going to go to all the phone calls that we had. We're also going to have an interview with Mike Niziolek. He is the beat writer for the Roanoke Times, or he's the beat writer for Virginia Tech for the Roanoke Times. Is that the right way to say it in newspaper parlance, Corey?
It is. You did it right, though. You had it on both fronts.
Okay, cool. So with that said, I think we only have about a half dozen callers, but we want to get to all of them. The questions are a little bit on the long side, but I think they're all pretty decent. So let's just go ahead and we'll let the first one rip.
Hey, can I ask you a question real quick before you do that?
Certainly.
So you just now said it. Was it the Roanoke Times, the paper where they sued their former writer for his Twitter account? Because he went to The Athletic and kept all his Twitter followers? Do you remember that story from like a month ago?
I don't. I'm Googling it right now, though.
Look up Andy Bitter. I think his last name was Bitter. Bitter, he hardly knew her.
Hey. It still says Andy Bitter VT. Yeah, Roanoke Times sues Andy Bitter for rights to his Twitter account from Deadspin, August 7th.
Man, we had him. Like he must have been the guy that they hired for Andy Bitter. After Andy Bitter left. So we could ask him about that.
Well, remember,
we asked to hear about that, folks.
Remember, we asked him, like, do you have a Twitter? And he was like, so I didn't even realize.
That's right. Yeah, that should have been we're such intrepid reporters. After the fact, after we've interviewed him, I remember that.
Oh, gosh, I'm the worst. All right.
Anyway, let's get to the phone calls.
Hi, this is Jude from Orlando. I was actually calling for Aslan and Corey, just letting you guys know what a great job you're doing. You guys have educated me on what's been going on since Jimbo's left, so I just want to let you guys know you're doing a great job. I just had 2 questions. First question is, when 2016, when I watched Francois play, and I watched that kid get assaulted, and all he did was get right back up. And so I just became a big fan of his, and I must admit I was rooting for him, but now that I've been watching you guys put up videos of Blackman, I've become a fan of his as well. And is there any scenario where you guys could see both of them playing, but not necessarily one playing bad for the other to play, but sort of a 1-2 threat? Do you guys see that? And my second question, I'm going to say it real quick. I had a friend of mine that's a Texas A&M fan, and he mentioned that Jimbo has been ripping Kevin Summerlin. And so I just was curious, has Coach Taggart said anything derogatory towards Jimbo? Because somewhat seems hypocritical considering what I've listened to you guys say some of the things he did before he left. So that's it. Just wanted to let you guys know you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thanks, Jude.
Yeah, Jude.
All right. No, I don't think they're both going to play. And if they,
how many times do you think somebody is saying at least a core, like a lyric or two of "Hey Jude" to him?
Oh man, yeah,
1 million. I mean, it's got to at least be 1,000 times in his life.
I worked at a freight brokerage, and there was a guy who would call in, and his name was Leroy Brown. And I'd be big, bad, Leroy Brown. And he hated it. And this one lady was like, don't ever sing that song to him on the phone again. He can't stand it. I'm like, okay.
There was a girl on the Florida State golf team like maybe 10 years ago. Her name was Macarena.
Right.
Legitimately. That was her name, Macarena.
You did a story on that,
I had
right?
to write a story about that. Yeah. I did.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that would really surprise me if that's true, that Jimbo was quote unquote ripping Kevin Sumlin. That's not, say what you want about Jimbo. I've certainly said plenty. That's not the kind of guy he is. I don't think, well, he might say it off the record. He'll rip any and everyone off the record perhaps, but on the record, I can't imagine him saying anything negative about his predecessor. I just can't. I mean, there's some things that are always going to come off negative because you're talking about how you're trying to change a culture. Just like Willie Taggart talked about what he was left with. And that came off as negative about Jimbo, even though Willie Taggart's never said anything negative about Jimbo publicly or privately, for all I know, but certainly not publicly to us. So that would really surprise me if he said anything about Kevin Sumlin. And no, Willie Taggart talked about ACC Media Days about how they just weren't they didn't like each other. It didn't seem like his teammates liked each other, and in the offseason there was no accountability. Like last offseason, if kids showed up to offseason workouts or didn't, there was no punishment, and how that's all changed. And that's a direct reflection of Jimbo Fisher, but it wasn't Willie Taggart saying, yeah, Jimbo Fisher let this thing go to hell.
Yeah, when he was at the Tallahassee Quarterback Club last week, whoever introduced him ripped on Jimbo a few times. Everybody, gave a good little clap about it, and Willie just kind of smirked it off.
Wasn't it Thrasher?
No, Thrasher said something at the kickoff luncheon. This is the Tallahassee Quarterback Club.
Yeah.
And
the president.
Yeah, but and then Willie actually was funny because Willie got up there and Willie's like, I got nothing wrong with Jimbo. He's like, Jimbo's my guy. And it kind of went quiet for a little bit. Everyone was like, oh. And he's like, Jimbo made the dream come true. So much love to Jimbo or whatever. And then everyone started like breaking out into applause. I mean, basically saying, like, why would I hate Jimbo Fisher? Like, since he was, I guess, maybe kind of implying you guys all don't like him for whatever reason, but the reason, that you guys don't like him is also the reason that he's not here any longer. And now I'm here. So thank God for that guy. Because, yeah, if Jimbo Fisher maybe wasn't so ornery and so obtuse to work with, then maybe Willie Taggart isn't here. So it was kind of a cheeky little way to poke fun at things. But, yeah, like to your point, I think Jimbo Fisher said something on record about how this place is like a damn nightclub now. And some people thought maybe that was because it was so dark in the office, though. It wasn't talking about the culture. It was just Kevin Sumlin's office was like really dark, and he didn't like it that way. So that's the closest he's gotten to ripping Kevin Sumlin. But, they're both pretty classy guys. Willie's more classy, obviously, because he's our guy now. That's the way these things work. Right. Next question.
Exactly. Wake the FSU up. Guys, it's Sam from Arkansas again. And in future reference, if you want to just not even put mine on the air, that's fine. Whatever. This question's about DeAndre Francois. It's actually two questions. He seems to be prone to getting his passes knocked down. Was that a function of the slow offense that we had? Because he also got knocked down a lot and he was fast. Or was it more because of his technique? Second question, also about DeAndre and sort of Jameis. They seem to have some of their best games early in their season's career. Is that going to be something that changes with Willie Taggart? Thanks. Bye.
All right, Sam. Sorry, man. I feel like Sam rushed through that one because we might have poked fun at some people last week. It's all good, Sam. We'll always play you, friend.
No, the wake the FSU up is really catchy. That's a good job, Sam.
I was a little scared there.
I almost want to rename the show.
There we go. All right. I like that. Yeah, DeAndre, I don't know if he's prone to getting his passes knocked down because of, just the trauma of just getting beat up in 2016. I don't know how much of it's his arm, the throwing plane of his motion. He's not a tall guy, though. I mean, he's not Jameis. He's not 6'4". He's not James Blackman. He's not 6'5". I think it's more of that. I just think it's his height more so than any sort of mental hurdle that he has to overcome from, getting knocked around in terms of passes getting knocked down.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, I think it's just going to be such a different offense. I don't think it was necessarily a mechanical thing. I just think sometimes when you're 6'1" and you're trying to throw to Ryan Izzo in the middle of the field, and a defensive lineman jumps up and knocks it down. I mean, you're 6'1". But in this offense, the offense is so spread out, and guys are all over, like on one sideline and on another sideline. You spread a defense out, I think there's maybe not as much traffic in the middle of the field. And isn't that normally when balls get batted down when you're trying to throw in the middle of the field? Or a defensive lineman, obviously the ones that bat balls down. I think he's going to be taking more shots. I also think he's going to be throwing many more of those quick bubbles out to the outside, and those you got to hope don't get knocked down at all.
Agreed. The second part of the question, I don't know, talking about DeAndre and Jameis seem to have their best games early in the season or maybe even early in their career. I don't know if that's, I don't know, maybe like Jameis peaked in 2013 and kind of, slugged along in 14. If did DeAndre peak, and I don't know, I'm trying to maybe interpret it. No, I mean, I think DeAndre will be all right. I think the best is yet to come for him. I would think. I think he'd tell you he'd be disappointed if he peaked out in 2016. I think the best is yet to come for him.
I think that's an interesting thought, though. The best game Jameis ever played, the best game I've ever seen a quarterback play was that Pitt game, and he had some great ones after that. The Maryland game, the Clemson game. I mean, he was great, but he was just about darn perfect against Pitt on the road. And I think you could say maybe Francois' best game, certainly one of them, was the Ole Miss game. Yeah. And then 2 weeks later, he looked like death against Louisville. And then he wasn't very good against Michigan. I just think maybe that's coincidence. I don't, and I certainly don't expect. Maybe even if it wasn't coincidence, maybe if that was a flaw in the Jimbo Fisher system, as the quarterbacks got worse the more they played, kind of like me playing golf. He's not in that offense anymore, and I just think again, this offense should have more dudes running free. That's the whole design of it. Not so much. There won't be so much on Francois' shoulders. Number one. But also, the guys should be running free. There should be a lot of easier throws to make.
All right. I agree with all that. I'll co-sign with it. All right, let's go. Our next question.
Corey, Aslan, what's up, dudes? It's Chris. I'm stationed up here in Norfolk, Virginia. Huge fans, and I love listening to Wake Up War Chant every day. My wife and I will be making the drive down to the game on Labor Day, and I hope to meet you two. My question is, do y'all think that Cam Akers will break Dalvin Cook's records? Thank you, and go Noles.
Shout out, Corey, or Chris, rather. I saw the name Corey in front of my screen.
He said he was stationed in Roanoke?
Norfolk.
Yeah. Oh, somewhere in Virginia, right? Yeah, that obviously implies that he's serving in our military?
I would think so. He's stationed. Yeah, that's a big
All
Navy.
Right, well, thank you for your service, man. And, we're definitely going to – I don't know if you'll be here on Sunday, but we'll definitely be at the Garnet and Gold for the War Chant meet and greet. And then, I don't know what we're going to do the day of the game. We'll probably just do laps around the stadium, you and I.
Hey, Corey.
Well, kissing babies and posing for pictures and signing body parts.
Hey, Corey.
Yeah.
The show's airing on Monday.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
Sorry, Chris.
Sorry, buddy.
Maybe we'll see you.
Sorry. Maybe we'll see you, buddy. I hope we see you. I hope we've already seen you.
Yeah, there we go. Cam Akers, will he break Dalvin Cook's records? Don't think so.
Because he's gonna share carries. Yeah. I think he's not going to get enough carries as a sophomore and as a junior to get because I guess he broke Dalvin's freshman record by a few yards, but the next 2 years he's going to have to rush for like 3,000 yards, and I just don't know if that's going to happen because he's got some real talent behind him. Dalvin Cook didn't have that kind of talent behind him.
Yeah. All right, hey, old habits die hard. We're going to take a break. We're going to pause. We're going to reset. When we come back, we're going to have Mike Niziolek from the Roanoke Times, not on Twitter, but in the flesh, talking to us about Virginia Tech and Florida State. It's a Labor Day game that we're all ready for. We'll be right back after this. It's Wake Up War Chant.
You're locked in to Wake Up War Chant on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Been waiting all night. It's game time.
Welcome back. I'm Aslan. He's Corey. It's Wake Up War Chant. Noles taking on Virginia Tech at Doak Campbell Stadium on a Monday night, Labor Day, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We probably haven't talked enough about the Hokies, at least to the degree of the hardcore football fan who listens to the show, Corey. So let's go to Roanoke. Let's phone a friend. Mike Niziolek from Roanoke, beat writer for, was it the Roanoke Times? Is that what it's the outfit is called, Mike? Your newspaper?
Yeah, sure. That's what it is, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sloppy on these things. I apologize. Corey, get me in line, man. Mike, thanks for being here. We appreciate it. I guess just first off, from the outside looking in, there was a lot of, tumult is maybe the right word to say, just in terms of players being academically ineligible, injuries. You have a co-defensive coordinator abruptly losing his post. How would you classify, I guess, the offseason in Blacksburg for the Hokies this year?
A strange one, I guess you could say. I think with the Josh Jackson thing, that was kind of very public just because it was your quarterback. And I think it was kind of blown up just because of his position on the team. I don't think it was anything serious from kind of people I've talked to. It just got out there. And then, with him being kind of one of the better quarterbacks in college football are expected to be, that kind of blew up. And then you had kind of some of the discipline issues, and they just happened to be all in the secondary. And that was just kind of, it really hurt their depth because they had a young defense to begin with. So just kind of strange. The coaching thing obviously was sort of a strange situation in the sense that this is a very pretty stable coaching staff. If you look at it, the offensive side has been together for like 7 years, going back with all the guys were kind of attached to Justin Fuente. Defense has been here with Bud Foster. So they actually have a pretty stable coaching staff. That just happened to be one little kind of scandal that came up. But that, I think coaching continuity-wise, they're a pretty solid group in the ACC.
Mike, down here in Tallahassee, people are worried about the, the inexperience, the youth, I guess, on defense. But every team sort of has their concern. I mean, what is the thing that most Hokie fans or you guys in the media that are covering this program, some of the bigger question marks that this team has going into the season opener?
Yeah, I think you're talking about, 7 defensive starters, 8 are going to be, one's changing the position, so we'll have 8 new starters on defense. That's as inexperienced as Bud Foster in 2+ decades has had, he said. His secondary is very young. Linebacker doesn't have a snap of experience. So that's really where it's all centered. I think you have confidence in that this group's going to put it together. But you start week 1 on the road in Tallahassee, and that's a tall task for a very young team. I think if you look at the secondary, they certainly got the talent to put it together. And all these guys are 6'1", 6'2". They got a free safety, Divine Diablo, which is a pretty good name, who's like 6'3", 225 pounds. So they have the tools. I just, how well put together is this group going to look on the first week of the season? But I think the overall arcing concern right now is that defense and just being so young.
Mike, what would you say is the strength? I know we haven't played a game yet, but going into the season, what do you foresee as the strength of this Virginia Tech team?
Well, you start with Josh Jackson. But anytime you have a returning quarterback, especially in an offensive scheme and system that wants to run fast tempo, that relies on your quarterback making smart decisions, you have that guy that started all 13 games last year. That's a huge advantage. And then I think you look at the offensive line. It's a group with a lot of experience. 3 starters back, 2 new guys, but they're not young. They've had a couple of years in the system. So they're talking about a group I think that's going to give Josh Jackson some time to make decisions. The playmakers, the receivers are inexperienced, but not necessarily young. And the running game wasn't very efficient last year. But I think with sort of the development of Jackson at quarterback and your offensive line, that's going to be kind of your strength of this team.
Mike Niziolek from the Roanoke Times joining us here on Wake Up War Chant 97.9 ESPN Radio. He is the beat writer for the Roanoke Times of the Virginia Tech football program. Mike, you talked about the wide receivers, the inexperience. I guess the sort of I don't know, the snob sort of Florida State fan looks at the fact that this is just probably a supremely athletic team, Florida State, compared to Virginia Tech. Are there players on the outside, or are there skilled position guys at Virginia Tech that could be emerging as household names and guys that could break out this year? Or is this a very sort of, I don't know, business-like sort of team that might not have any flash, but they're just going to be able to scheme their ways into getting some scoring drives?
They could have some flash. I mean, they had a guy, Damon Hazleton, who sat out last year. He's a big athletic receiver. He led Ball State in receiving his freshman year, but he transferred. So he was with the team last year, but sat out just because of the transfer rules. He's a guy that they like quite a bit. Sean Savoy's another guy, a receiver to watch. He was the top leading receiver coming back as a freshman. He almost had 500 yards. Really came on. They got some young freshmen that they like. This Hezekiah, I think, is Grimsley. He's going to be playing in the slot. He had a real solid last 2 games of the season. He's a young guy. They do have, they recruit athletes and kind of put them either on at wide receiver or defensive back. So they're recruiting athletes. I certainly don't think they're as accomplished as some of the guys Florida State has right now. But they're not lacking in sort of potential, I guess I would say. Running back, I think there's a little more mixed bag, but I mean, you got Deshaun McLeese, it can be a pretty speedy guy, hit the outside. Jalen Holston was a freshman last year. They have some speed, they have some athleticism. It's just it kind of getting the ball, getting them out in space. Struggled at times last year, but he was a first-year starter at quarterback. Now you kind of, I think, are going to see a little more of an efficient group this year for Coach Fuente.
Mike, when we talk to these coaches in the preseason, they all kind of say the same thing. They obviously always talk up their opponent. They talk about the concerns they might have. When you talk to Justin Fuente, who obviously is a very good coach, and you get a feel or maybe a sense of what he thinks of this team, is he quietly confident? Is he concerned? What feel do you get from Justin Fuente about what kind of team he thinks he's going to have in 2018, and maybe more specifically, what kind of chance they have in Tallahassee on Monday night?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was talking with somebody about that today. Just I think Fuente is kind of quietly confident about this offense. I mean, he will talk about the defense, but obviously that's Bud Foster's area. But in terms of the offense, I think he's kind of quietly confident. I mean, he's got a second-year starter. Last time he had that was Paxton Lynch, and that Memphis team really played well offensively for him when he had a returning quarterback. He did well with Andy Dalton when he had a returning quarterback. So I think getting that guy in the system and a guy that's really smart, I think that gives him that confidence. I mean, obviously he hasn't said anything like we're going to go out there and win or we're going to go out there and score 35 points. I just think that they believe they're going to be a pretty good offense. And they're going to believe they're going to be able to move the ball and hit some tempo and do some different things that they weren't able to do last year. Defensively, with defensive coordinator Foster, there is some concern, I think, about the unknown, especially when you're going up against, 2 running backs that could probably put up 1,000 yards this year. You got receivers, athletes all over the field. What if it's a young team, they're going to make mistakes. What if one of those goes, a big player too, and you're looking at a big deficit, do things start to fall apart just because you're young and you don't know how to rebound yet? So I think the concern is there just with some of the unknowns with the youth on defense. But offensively, I get the sense that they're pretty confident that they can score some points against people, Florida State included.
Mike, I've got kind of a macro question about just the program itself. Obviously, it kind of hit a rut at the end of Frank Beamer's career, and the people listening to this show and what happened in Tallahassee can certainly relate to that. A great coach whose last few years kind of, mediocre, average, not great. What did Fuente do to the excitement of the program, the culture? How big a change did he make in Blacksburg? And I assume the fans just have to be over the moon with what he did the first 2 years. I know he didn't win any championships, but, man, it looks like he's got that program on the upswing. And, obviously Florida State's going through a coaching change now and a first-year guy. But what did he do for that program? How did he shift maybe just the fans' excitement level when it comes to Virginia Tech football?
Well, it's interesting because I came in last month and kind of have done a lot of research and talking to a lot of people to try to kind of catch up. And that's one of the questions I've been asking and kind of looking at this program in the last 3 years. How has it kind of developed? What things have changed? It's interesting how he's, I think a lot of times you try to turn the page too quickly on the past when you're a guy taking over. and he hasn't done that. I mean, he's honored Frank Beamer's legacy. They instituted the number 25 jersey, which was Beamer's as a player, to kind of for the best special teams player of the week. He's done some things to incorporate that, but then build, obviously he has his own identity. They wanted an offensive-minded program. They kept Bud Foster in the fold from Beamer's tenure because these defenses were always very good. And so I think it's kind of the best of both worlds. They're not just throwing out the book. Look, Frank Beamer had success here. Certainly, nobody's going to argue that. Were the last couple of years not, peak years? Yes, but at the same time, there's a lot of there's people here that love that legacy and love him. And so I think what Fuente's done to sort of reinvigorate it is just honor that, but also do what he does best. That's kind of build an offense. And, Jared Evans was very good for him. Josh Jackson is it could be great this year, and I think that would even get the excitement up even that to that next level. So I think that's what he's done. He's done what he wanted to do. He's kind of put the identity of this offense on his back, and then at the same time kind of honored what came before him, and I think that's been kind of the best of both worlds.
Mike, we're going to let you go on this one. I mean, you mentioned Josh Jackson could potentially, have a great season but before him here. Is he a true dual threat guy, or is he a running back who just happens to be playing quarterback for this program?
He's a dual threat. I mean, I don't think you can. It almost will lull you. I don't think they're going to run him necessarily a ton, just sort of attacking a defense like that. But I think they're going to pick their spots, and I think he's always capable if things break down to move, and he's a good size. I think they want to be careful just about how many times they let him get hit. He's a guy that I think if you just ran him all the time, he would take contact, and you worry about him getting hurt. But at the same time, I don't think Florida State should sleep on it. If they're going to have very good coverage, and if he has to go and get a first down, I don't think he's going to hesitate if he sees the open field, and I think they could have some success with that. But they're going to be smart. They're going to pick their spots, and I think that's what they're looking for from him in both kind of the run game and passing game. Just be smart. That's one of the advantages they have with sort of their experience on offense. You're not going to hit huge plays in the secondary against Florida State, play in and play out, but you have to dump it off to your tight end, take what you can get. And I think the same thing in the running game where if you can get 6 yards, take it, but, you don't have to do it every play and risk kind of injuring yourself.
Mike, do you have a Twitter?
At Michael Niziolek, but we also have a Lunch Pail podcast that we're doing every week, and the Roanoke Times, Roanoke.com is where you can find all of our stuff. So you can follow along, and we'll be up in Tallahassee on Monday.
All right, because, Corey measures the success of doing radio hits in other markets by whether or not he gains any Twitter followers.
I never do, ever. But hopefully we can hook you up, man.
Yeah, because Niziolek is really easy to spell, everybody. It's just Niziolek. Somebody out there follow Mike, just so we made it worth his while. Mike, thanks so much for your time, man. We appreciate it.
Well, it was good. It was a good discussion. Thanks, guys, for having me.
Mike Niziolek from the Roanoke Times joining us here on Wake Up War Chant. We're going to take a break. I'm going to learn how to talk, and then we'll be right back. That's how it's going to work. We're coming right back after this.
WarChant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. WarChant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WarChant30. That's WarChant30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WarChant30. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.
Wake up! Welcome back. It's Wake Up War Chant. I'm Aslan. He's Corey. You already know that. This is a bonus segment. The lines came down from Vegas a little bit later than I had anticipated, Corey, but we have the much ballyhooed, much anticipated annual, weekly, over-under. Are you ready, Corey?
I believe I am, Aslan. I believe I am.
All right, and with that said, let's just go ahead and let it rip. These over-under lines have been set by none other than Gene Williams, and we begin with rushing yards. FSU over-under 200, Corey. 200 rushing yards.
Man, that's a good number. I'm going to say I'm going to say under, only because I think there'll be a few sacks that'll take them under that. I think they'll have over 200 positive rushing yards, but the sacks will put them under 200.
What?
Plus, I do think Virginia Tech will sell out to stop the run. So I'm going to say under.
I'm going to have to say over. I'm intoxicated with optimism currently as we record this bonus segment, so I'm going to go with over. Let's go to sacks. Defensively, Florida State will sack Virginia Tech passers over under 3 times, Corey.
Over.
Over? I'll take
that's
under.
That's a good number. I think Florida State will have a lead late, and Virginia Tech will have to be passing on every down, and a couple times he's just going to he's not going to be able to get away.
Okay. I'll take the under. Although, high hopes, high expectations for Brian Burns. I think it'll all work out. Offensively, we're back to, let's go to wide receivers. DJ Matthews, his total number of catches over under is 5. I don't want to say
under.
Push. You're going to go under? Yeah, I'll say under too, just because his health was a little bit dicey, I guess, in the last few weeks. We didn't really see him out there. Well, we did see him out there, but he's been hampered by that back, so who knows. Ultimately, I think he will be one of the leading receivers for the team, but I don't know about 5 catches week 1. DeAndre Francois, rushing attempts, Corey, 6.
Okay, so we're excluding sacks from this, right? Because they don't. I mean, I know they do count statistically, but they don't count for the purposes of this. Because if he gets sacked 6 times, that's 6 rushing attempts.
Yeah,
according
no.
to college football's dumb stat. So actual DeAndre Francois designed rushes are read rushes where he keeps the ball.
Yes.
I'm going to say under.
Yeah, I think 5 might be the number.
That's what I was thinking. I think 5 is a perfect number for that.
All right, fantastic.
Now, does that count? I guess that counts scrambles too. Like if nobody's open, he scrambles for a first down. Man, 6 is probably a smart number.
He knows what he's doing.
Still, I'll go under. I'll go under.
Yeah, but that would count too if he scrambles and uses his athleticism to extend things. We'll go for that. Total penalty. So this is a much sort of debated statistic about Willie Taggart's previous stop at Oregon, but as Corey Clark has discussed numerous times on this program, if you look at what Oregon was in 2016, if you look at the teams that Willie had at USF, they were never, or actually the team in Oregon 2016 was still pretty highly penalized, but Willie's teams at USF were kind of middle of the road. So 9 total penalties for Florida State. That's a pretty big number, right? 9
that
in
is
a
a
game.
big number. Under, you hope. If it's over that, oh boy.
Yeah. That would be a lot of
we got a world of problems.
False starts galore. I don't think that'll be the case though. For as much tempo as you hear, like you don't see Auburn and Clemson and Ole Miss getting a lot of false start penalties. I mean, you're going fast, but you still make sure you're lined up before you go. I think the whole Jimbo stuff where you sit, you make sure everything's good. It's like, are you good? Are you good? Are we good? Everybody good? Good. And it's like this one guy's not good, and then he jumps off, and everything goes haywire. Special teams, Corey. They're the third sort of facet of this whole football thing. Logan Tyler, his punting average. What do you think the number is? How about that? Let me throw that at you first before we give it to you. What do you think the number is? What would be a good number?
42.
Look at you. Almost like we had it scripted. That is the over-under number. 42 yards for Logan Tyler's punting average.
Under.
Yeah. He's going to maybe boom 165.
He's going to hit a 55-yarder.
Yeah.
But then he's also going to have a 28-yarder maybe. He also might want to he might also be asked to pooch. You hope not. You hope Willie's not in the pooch punting game like the last guy, that he would just go for it in that situation. But maybe first game, nerves, wanting to back up Virginia Tech, he might ask for a pooch punt or two.
Okay, that's fair. I agree. Under. I think, we'll be wowed and then we'll be dismayed. That's just who Logan Tyler is. And it's fine. It's fine. Okay, announced attendance. I'm looking at Wikipedia, which is the authority on all things. It looks like the current capacity is listed at 79,560. Does that sound right to you, Core? That's a number.
Yeah, it does. Sure.
That's a number we're going to use. So the over/under is the announced attendance. Will it be over or under 78,000? Announced attendance.
Over. Announced will be over.
Agreed. Yes. I think it's, judging by being out on the town this weekend, around College Town, people are here. Everybody's rallied. They're ready to go.
It's ready. It's Seminole
ripe.
Nation, rise up. Wake up. It's time.
Ripe. It's ripe out there, buddy. All right, here we go. Total points. 55 total points scored between Virginia Tech and Florida State Labor Day night, Corey. What do we say?
It's Good number. I think I predicted like 31-20.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say under. I guess I gotta stay with the prediction.
Yeah, just to stay with the fidelity. Yeah,
I think Florida State might win 55-0. So there's your 55 right there.
It could be magical, Corey. Like I have to keep debating between being ractical. That's like it'll be a hybrid word between rational and practical.
Practical, yeah, or rational.
Yeah, there we go. Golly, it's part of me I just see like DeAndre Francois commanding, pew pew, screen pass, just up the middle, Akers, touchdown. Just no one can stop them. Can't stop, won't stop. But yeah, I'll go under. 55 that's a big number. They could still score in the 30s, but you would hope that with Virginia Tech's lack of explosive weapons, that maybe Harlan Barnett's defense would keep them below 24. So yeah, I'll take under on 55 as well, Corey. I feel good about all that.
Right,
do you?
Well, there we go.
All right, let's do this. We'll come back. We'll keep these numbers written down, and we'll revisit them after the game, Corey. How about that?
I can't wait.
All right.
Did you really write them down?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Okay, good, perfect.
All right, we'll be right back after this, folks.
Sometimes you just know. You just know, that's all. I can feel it coming in the
Wake up. Welcome back in. I'm Aslan. He's Corey. It's Wake Up War Chant. Thanks so much for being here. Hope you're having a fine Labor Day, as it's the eve or the build-up to Florida State about to thrash Virginia Tech. All right, Corey, I know you don't like making predictions and all that sort of stuff. We're not going to do a season prediction or anything like that. Is there a key or two you want to talk about, you think, that's not totally cliche, that's not, protect the ball or, stop the run? The one thing I was thinking about, and I don't know how, I think it plays into a cliche, is the fast start. I think it's going to be really key for Florida State, I think, to win on first and second down so that, they get into third and manageable if they do get to that point and they can run the ball effectively. Because I think that's going to be the strength of this team. So, I don't know how much of it's going to be to get the tempo going, because you have to win first down to make tempo really work. I don't know if that's more important or if it's going to be limiting Virginia Tech on first and second down, because I think it's Florida State. It's more important for them to do well offensively, because I think Josh Jackson, with the way he plays, even if you get him in a third and long, they're never going to be out of it just because of the way his game is. So I just think it's important for Florida State to early on, get a couple good punt returns, play on a short field so that they have a good shot of getting a couple touchdowns, because that's a young team, Virginia Tech. And if they can get 14-0 up in the first quarter, maybe then the onslaught will be on. That was kind of awkward, but whatever. It's clumsy.
That was a lot. That was a lot you said, but I agree with that as far as getting up early, and because they are a young team, and maybe taking some of their will a little bit when you get up that early, but get up by 14, 17 points. That would be obviously ideal, and maybe it turns into a rout. The two things I'm looking for: win or lose, 40-10 or 31-30, whatever. Can you pressure the quarterback? And can you keep the defensive lineman off your quarterback? Those are the two things I'm looking at. I don't know if you want to call them keys, but if they can get constant pressure on this quarterback, that bodes really well for the rest of the season.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, I guess maybe back also to my point about Josh Jackson and his scrambling ability. Maybe this will be also, we keep, joking a little bit about, it's a new era. It's a Taggart era. Things are going to go fast. They're going to score a lot of points. It's just the way it is. I think this whole concept of 11 guys running to the ball is going to be so refreshing. And not to pile on Charles Kelly, but I feel like when everything is, you do your job, set the edge, and then a guy breaks free, like a quarterback breaks out of the pocket, it's, all right, well then my job isn't to tackle him. That was the other guy's job. And I don't know how much mental sort of, lockup happens in those situations, and guys aren't, you see guys loafing. You see guys having to sign letters on a Showtime show that they're not going to do that anymore. I think with Florida State's, if I want to see the aggressiveness. I just hope they're going to be aggressive enough, and it won't cost them anything. I hope that that it won't be an over-aggression that'll get them penalties, or Brian Burns just zips past the offensive tackle and just start running draws at him or whatever like that. But I just think with 11 guys running to the ball, with the amount of talent and speed they have on defense, it's hard to imagine Virginia Tech, with a fairly pedestrian run game, being able to do anything too dynamic to get back in this if Florida State can jump on them early. So,
well, and I don't know how talented they are at receiver either. I assume it's Virginia Tech, so they got some dudes, but I don't know. If they have pedestrian running backs and pedestrian receivers, and that's an if, we don't know that for sure. But if they do, it should be a pretty long night for their offense.
Yeah. They got Sean Savoy or Steve. Yeah, Sean Savoy. I think he's 5'9", but I mean, you're going to be on Levante, who's that's fine. He'll erase it. I like that.
All right, you hope. Yeah.
All right, man. Let's start landing this plane. Let's get back to a few more of the questions.
Hey, Aslan and Corey. This is James from Tallahassee. I was just wondering your opinion because with the playoff formula, I feel like it overhyped Alabama and Clemson and how much they are dominating nowadays. If the playoff formula was set up during Bobby Bowden's 14 years finishing in the top 4 in the nation, how many more national championships do you think we'll have then? Have a good day.
All right, Corey. I think we've maybe danced.
I think I've written a column about that before. Maybe even on War Chant. I can't remember if I did or not. But yeah, so 87, 88, 89, 91, 92. Those years right there are at least one or two more championships.
Yep.
At least. Because they were at the end of all those seasons, you could make an argument and you would be right that they were the best team in the country. Except 91, they lost that wide right game to Miami, and then they lost the next game to Florida, but they were heartbroken. They knew their season was over after the Miami loss. It's crazy they had to play Miami and Florida back to back.
Yeah,
but anyway, they did, and they lost the wide right when they were number 1 in the country, and they just barely showed up in Gainesville. But if they were still playing for a spot in the playoff, I think they beat that Florida team by 3 touchdowns. And then they go on, and I think they probably win the national championship that year. At any rate, you throw those seasons into the mix, maybe 95 too. Heck, maybe 94.
97?
Well, not 96 because they played for the national championship. 97. You're looking at like 7 or 8 different years where they would have been in the playoffs. So add at least 3, in my opinion. And that might be cautious. But, yeah, I mean, Alabama's gotten the benefit of the doubt almost all the time of even before the playoff. If they had a loss, they were going to get to play for it. They got to play LSU again after losing to them at home and not scoring a touchdown. They got to play again for the national championship. So it's interesting to think about. I do think Bowden, instead of 2 national championships, if the playoffs have been around throughout the 80s and 90s, he probably has 5 at least.
Man, that's something to think about. Hey, let's remember.
Charlie Ward would have been a 2-time national champion quarterback. I do think the 92 team definitely wins the national championship because they figured out the offense finally at the end of the year with a fast break.
Yeah. Hey, let's swing over to the left coast.
Okay.
Hey guys, it's Kyle from Rockland, California. Way out here on the left coast. Try to keep it brief. Hey, just wanted to see what your thoughts are on how you think DeAndre Francois stacks up to the quarterback that Taggart had at Oregon when they have their offense rolling. Kind of want to see what you think possibilities are in comparisons.
All right, I had to cut him off there. Just some stuff about telling us to go to YouTube and checking out Harlan Barnett. So let's just kind of focus maybe on Francois. And I think by that quarterback, talking about Justin Herbert. I don't think there's a lot of parallels. I think Justin Herbert's, he's a taller, leaner. I think he's more of a pro prospect than DeAndre, at least right now. I think but DeAndre, maybe, I don't know, maybe he's more of a runner. I don't know. It's crazy because talking to Walt Bell the other day, like he made it sound like DeAndre's ability to run is a huge asset and was a definitely the formula for him winning the job over James Blackman. I feel like James Blackman's probably closer to Justin Herbert, but Justin Herbert's much more polished than James Blackman is currently right now.
Yeah, I would think, when you look at Willie's quarterbacks, obviously you look at the Herbert kid, but he only had him for 8 games. And then you look at Quentin Flowers at South Florida. And DeAndre's not that. DeAndre's a better passer than Flowers by a wide margin. But Flowers was a guy that ran for like 1,400 yards or some crazy high number from the quarterback spot. And Francois is not that, but he has some of that in him. Francois is probably like a 4.7 guy, 4.65 guy, but he's got some wiggle, and he's certainly fast enough if he gets some open field where he can get you 20 yards. And in the red zone especially, I thought his best moments running the ball as a freshman were in the red zone, where he'd score those touchdowns and do that weird kick thing he does, like high step. I think that's where I don't think he's like the Oregon kid at all. I think he's a better runner than that kid and probably not as polished a passer. But maybe you could say he's a combination between the last two quarterbacks Willie's had. And that's not a bad thing to be because he will be a running threat and he can throw it. So you're probably looking at like a Charlie Ward 2.0.
Yeah, for everyone talks about, of course, Quentin Flowers ran the ball so much he couldn't throw the ball. Man, in 16, the last year he was together with Willie, he finished up in 17, but obviously Willie was in Eugene at that time. Dude, Quentin Flowers completed 62.5% of his passes, had 2,800 yards passing, 24 touchdowns, 7 picks. Here's his rushing numbers, Corey. 198 attempts, 1,530 yards. He averaged over 7.5 yards per carry and had 18 touchdowns on the ground.
Dude, that's crazy because that's also absurd. Counts sacks because college football's dumb and counts sacks as quarterback rushing yards. So, man, he might have rushed for like 1,800 yards, and then had a couple hundred taken away in sack yards. That's an incredible number. But, yeah, I mean, I don't think if DeAndre Francois only completes 62% of his passes in this offense, he's not throwing the ball well. I think this offense, it will take shots. But I think we think the strength of this team is there are going to be more open guys, more simpler throws, easier throws, and so you need to be above 62%. So hopefully he can get close to 70, and if he's close to 70% and can run a little bit, the offense should put up plenty of points.
All right, here we go. Last one, everybody. We're going to do a keg stand of Kool-Aid, courtesy of the Bay Area.
Hey, fellas, this is Jim in Tampa. Listen. Hearing that DeAndre Francois is our quarterback just makes me feel that much more confident about my 55-17 nose beating of Virginia Tech on Monday night. People have to realize that this is not Jimbo's slow-moving, methodical offense. This is Willie Taggart with his fast-moving, fast-paced, get all the athletes on the field that he can. So it's going to be high-flying, and I can't wait. Go Noles.
I mean, is there really anything else to say, Corey, after that?
I feel like from now on, when you say the Bay Area, I was immediately thinking, oh, we got another call from California?
Yeah, sorry.
I don't think we call Tampa the Bay Area. Maybe we do. Maybe people in Tampa call it the Bay Area.
Yeah, we do. It's my people.
Look, man, if he puts up 55 on Bud Foster, and I know they got some holes on defense, and I know they got some question marks and a lot of youth, man, I mean, good grief. Then batten down the hatches, Sally, because we're about to have a ride. If he puts up 55 on opening night against this defense and this program, man, Florida State fans, again, it's going to be pantless through the city. And, they might not lose. I just think there'll be some growing pains, a learning curve, new season, new system and all. But, man, yeah, the one thing Willie Taggart will do now is he gets his best athletes on the field. He doesn't care how old they are and how much they played. He wants them on the field. And that will be exciting to see later on tonight, folks, at the Doak. We don't call it the Doak. No, at Doak.
All right.
With Willie Taggart debut.
How do we feel? Like when we reconvene here tomorrow, like what are we going to be talking about? You think what's going to be will it be like, oh boy, everything we thought it's happening maybe? Or is it going to be one of those things like, hey, let's not get too upset that it wasn't pretty. We got the win. Let's survive and advance. Or is it dire?
Is it dire? I don't think it'll be dire.
Either do I.
But yeah, I mean, I'm a cynic by heart when it comes. I'm always, because I'm an Atlanta sports fan, I'm glass half empty. So I could see that it could be I would be surprised if they lost, but I would not be surprised if it's kind of an ugly, get a feeling type game, and there will be maybe 3-4 possessions where they go 3 and out with a quickness. But, man, I want to see some big plays. It's fun to watch big plays and long touchdowns. It's fun to watch your athletes go be athletes and make great plays. I don't know what the weather's supposed to be like. I don't know how much that will play a role. If it rains, I know I'd seen that it might rain, so who knows. But either way, it'll be fun watching athletes go be athletes in a fast offense.
This is going to be the first game I've watched in a hermetically sealed glass press box probably since I interned with War Chant 15 years ago. Well, 13,
yeah, man.
13 years ago.
It's the same thing. You can't. I think they made it. They open up the top part of the windows now, so you can at least hear the crowd.
Okay, yeah, I need.
So that helps. So it's not soundproof. So like when Rashad Green's scoring on a 50-yard catch against Oklahoma, and all you do is see people stand and you can't hear it. It's not like that anymore. You will be able to hear the crowd noise. So I'm excited, buddy. I'm excited. Let's do this.
Final prediction.
Let's wake up.
I'm changing my prediction from the War Chant Report. I think I said 28-13. I'm going to go ahead and say 34-28 Florida State.
Man, that went south fast.
I'm high on the defense, but I don't know. I'm still. I know there's too many guys that aren't. They're not healthy. We don't know if they're going to play. So I'm going to give Harlan Barnett a little bit of time to figure things out. I don't know. I don't think Virginia Tech has a good offense, but a mobile quarterback just has me a little bit nervous.
Well, yeah, and he is mobile. Now, again, he's not Quentin Flowers, but he will run. The key, man, is to make him pay for it. If he wants to run, fine, but punish him when he does.
Yeah, they will do that because that's what he does. That's what Harlan Barnett defense does. 11 guys.
Skippy.
You get them all, they're angry. Corey, what's your prediction? Let's go.
55-17.
Boom. We'll catch up with you guys tomorrow. Enjoy your Labor Day, and have a great day if you want to. He's Corey Aslan.
The Sod Cemetery, Osceola and Renegade, and of course, the War Chant. These are great traditions known to all Seminole fans. If you are a card-carrying, garnet and gold-wearing Nole, don't you deserve a site that is truly dedicated to covering FSU sports? WarChant.com's staff has over 50 years of experience covering the Seminoles. WarChant.com is the only FSU outlet with a full-time recruiting analyst in Tallahassee. Plus, it's the only site with a full-time videographer and a daily podcast, 100% dedicated to FSU sports. Why act like Gators and settle for second best? WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.